people. I'm going to give you a couple of interesting statistics. First of all, a Moravian study was done, a UCL study, a study a number of years ago that indicated that 55% of what we hear is through body language. So when I'm talking to you, and I'm standing like this, and I'm walking around like this, you're not hearing anything that I am saying. You are not hearing my words. You are simply looking at my body language going, wow, why is she so mad? Body language is absolutely what most people hear in a person-to-person conversation, 55% of the time. 38% of the time is tonality of voice. You need to be able to adjust your voice. You can sound very serious. I can't sound very serious. You can sound happy. It's all in your voice. When you're making a presentation, when you're presenting your company, when you're presenting yourself, you need to be able to flex and change the tonality of your voice. Because if you don't, people aren't going to hear what you're saying. They're going to listen to the tonality of your voice. Perfect example. How many of you have animals at home, like a dog? And when little Fido comes in the door, you go, oh, Fido, you're such a nice little dog. And Fido's tail wags, and life is good. So what happens if you go to Fido and you say, Fido, you are a really nice dog? What's that dog going to do? Run away. The tail's going to be between his legs. You said the same words, but it's the tonality of your voice. When you are presenting, you've got to understand your audience and present with the proper tonality of voice. Change it up. I know that there are 4 basic personality types in this room, and we're going to talk about those in just a couple of minutes. And I also know that I have to be able to communicate with each of you, because otherwise you wouldn't like me very much. And so when you're communicating with people, you need to be able to understand that as well. I'm going to ask you a question. Let me see. Here it is. What color is this? Hello out there, what color is this?
White.
What's your cows drink?
Water.
I heard some milks over here. A lot of you didn't even show up. That's how we listen these days. I asked you what color this was, and most of you were on a train out thinking about golf in the next room. Man, I know how to communicate. I can open my mouth. I don't need to listen to this anymore. So you were gone. You were on this train. And I said, what color is this? And a few of you that were still in the room, that were kind of the late leavers, said white. I raised my voice, causing all of you to show up. And I said, what color is this? And you finally said, white. Now get out of my face, lady. I want to go back on the train and get outside. And then I said, what do cows drink? Most of you didn't hear what I said. The 3 of you that did, I heard 2 milks and a water. I heard one time I was doing a seminar and the man yelled, hey, so loud that I couldn't help but laughing. That's how we listen. We don't listen. There are 4 types of listeners. There is a non-listener. And normally I don't worry too much about the non-listeners because you can tell they're not listening. They're busy doing something else. They're busy texting. They're busy thinking something else. They're not in the room. So when you're communicating with someone and they're not listening, you need to be able to get their attention. How do you do that? The second type of listener is, I call it the spousal listener. It's the listener that they're listening a little bit. That's where some of you were today. You're listening to bits and pieces, but not a lot. So you're at home and that causes conflict because honey says something, you heard something else, and you're not doing what honey says. And you know what happens when you don't do what honey says.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some real interesting people over here to know that. And then there's the evaluative listener. And the evaluative listener, when you're doing a presentation for your company, when you're looking for capital, you might have the person in the audience going like this. Kind of looks like the head in the back of the car. You know, yep, got it. They don't got it. You have to make sure that when you see that type of person, they're not understanding exactly what you're saying. And so you need to circle back with them to make sure that they're getting the message. We all need to become active listeners. If you're doing a presentation for a group of people, you need to make sure that they're getting the message that you're sending to them. And by doing that, to become an active listener, and I think all of us need to be better at listening skills. To become an active listener, open up your body language. Some of you are sitting there like this. Open up your body language. Well, I'm just cold, you say. But open up that body language. Allow the message to come through to you. If you're in an interview with someone and you're sitting at their desk and you're being interviewed and they're leaning back in their chair, you're not going to get the job. It's just that simple. Do a forward lean. That allows you to say, hey, I'm open and I want to communicate with you. Those are some skills that, you know, you think they're really easy and everybody knows them, and this is like Primer 101, it's no big deal. But we have seen hundreds, Michael, how many hundreds of presentations? Thousands probably. Of presentations over the course of years. The people that get the funding, the people that are successful are people that understand the communication. You might know your topic forwards, backwards, inside out, and upside down. But if you're not getting through to people, if you're not having them understand what you're saying, you're not going to get any funding, you're not going to have any success. And so you have to be willing to open up, to listen, and to be able to communicate with people. There are basically 4 types of people that we communicate with. How many of you have taken the Myers-Briggs? A lot. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It really identifies, I think, what, 36 or 38 different personality types. But there are 4 basic personality types. And we can do a little exercise here that might be kind of fun, just to tell you about them. Or what kind of time do we have? I guess maybe I'm running a little long. I'm okay. We'll do this instead. There are 4 personality types. I'm going to give you some examples of how I have understand this and how I've worked with people. You have the director-ruler type personality. The director-ruler type personality is the CEO. They are a no-nonsense person. They speak in bullet points. They want action now. Their mantra is to get it done. And when you are making a presentation to anyone, there are people like that in the room. So that's why I will oftentimes go back and say we're going to discuss 7 points. Point number 1, point number 2, because that's how they want to be talked to. They're like the field marshals. They love to be in charge, and they make great project managers. How many of you are in that position? Okay, so am I describing you?
Partially.
Partially. They love a challenge, and they will figure out how to get something done. Their office, they have piles of things in their office, and they probably drive the big car. The downside is they sometimes need interpersonal skills. They are so busy, and they don't have time to cut through the garbage. And so they need some interpersonal skills training. They need to understand other people. Seek first to understand, then seek to be understood. It's a Covey habit that we all should take advantage of. They're sometimes too brusque and too blunt. There's another type of person, which is kind of their polar opposite, is a relator personality. The relator personality, and I've heard that 40% of the people in the United States, and I don't know about other countries, but 40% of the people in the US are the relator personality. The relator personality makes a great nurse, moms. The relator personality is the opposite of the ruler, of the director-ruler, and it drives the director-ruler crazy. They are let's get along people. They will do anything. They love to talk, they love to hug, they love to just be warm and fuzzy, they like to work with people. They're loyal, they're behind-the-scenes people. They're homey. In their office, they have a lot of the family pictures. They got a picture of the dog and the kids, and they probably drive a minivan so that they can take a lot of people to lunch. Then there is the thinker, analyzer, the logical person, and I think perhaps several of you are in that category in this room today. You are quiet, you're reserved. You are very indirect, but you are the get it right people. You need to get it right. You're the polar opposite of the next group I'm going to talk about, which is my group. You process information. You check out the facts. You're slower paced, and your quality control. You see things as black and white. Your office probably has the latest, newest technical toys that you can have, and you probably drive the very, very gas conservative car. You're a picture of order, and you don't have a lot of flexibility. As an entrepreneur, you need to be able to change that a little bit and go into the director role as well as the role of the relator. And finally, there's the socializer personality. The socializer personality is me. You are chatty and verbal. You are open. I'll tell you my whole life story. You're direct. You tell people. You wear your heart on your sleeve. You need appreciation. You're the one that goes into the office. You have someone in your office that's decorating for every holiday. Man, we've had Valentine's Day decorated since Christmas was over. Anybody like that in this room? They lose track of time. They sometimes just kind of forget. Their office might look like it exploded. And they probably drive the sports car, a little red sports car. So those are the 4 basic personalities. How many of you are more of the thinker, analytical, logical personality type? You're slower paced, you're quiet, you check things out. How many of you are the director ruler? You just want things in bullet points, get me the answers and get them to me now. No one in this room? You know what, you can raise your hand, it's okay. There you go. How many of you fall into the socializer category? And how many of you are the relators? The really nice people. Okay. See, in every group, you need to be able to address and identify with everyone. I opened today by giving you just a little background of who I am, that I'm a real person. I did that for the relator's purpose. I put things in bullet points. We're going to talk about 7 things. I did that for the director rulers. I can't talk too much about logical things because I don't know a lot about logical things, but we talk about specific numbers to things, and I try to validate where those numbers came from. That's to identify the logical person and the socializer person. I listened to Raja's voice versus Suresh's voice in their introductory commentary. Could you tell perhaps the difference in their personality types? Absolutely. When you have this little tool in your toolbox, you will be so able to give presentations. You will be so able to talk with people, identify their strengths, and work to their strengths. I went to a company, it wasn't Home Depot, but it was a company that was in, they've gone away now, they're on the tollway, and they sell appliances, or they sold appliances. So I went in there one day, in my typical fashion, we were building a house, and so I went in, I needed to buy a refrigerator. And so I went bounding into the refrigeration department and I said, I need to buy a refrigerator. This man looked at me like I had 3 heads. He said, you're in the right department. I'm thinking, uh-oh, we got an issue here because the logical person is the polar opposite of the socializer. I'm looking and he has the pen protector in his pocket. And I'm thinking, okay, I gotta tone this down or we're just not gonna make it today. So I said, good. He said, what may I help you with? I said, I'd like a refrigerator with ice in the door. And he proceeded to tell me everything about every refrigerator with ice in the door, the pros and cons about the refrigerator with ice in the door, and I didn't care. I just wanted a silver one with ice in the door. That's all I wanted. When we finished, I was understanding him a little better. We were getting along okay, and he was putting up with me. And so when we finished, he went back and we were sitting down filling out the paperwork, and he knew the exact serial number, all 17 numbers of the refrigerator that I ended up buying. So it was a situation where there was a big miscommunication going on until I understood what I needed to do to change my communication style with him. That's what you need to understand when you become